ABC 10 News at 5.
Developments tonight in the search for 3 missing climbers on Mount Hood in Oregon. Good evening, everyone. I'm Patrice Wood. It is our top story at 5 o'clock. Crews are focusing on descent routes at lower altitudes on Mount Hood. Brian Hall and Nico Cooke have been missing for more than a week now, and Leanne Gregg has the latest from Hood River, Oregon.
Searchers headed back to Mount Hood in hopes of finding Brian Hall and Jerry Nico Cooke one day after the body of their climbing partner, Kelly James, was found in a snow cave.
This is a difficult day.
For families of the 3 climbers who've gathered in Oregon, it was heart-wrenching news.
And we find enormous comfort in knowing that he lifted off that mountain from a place that he loved and doing something that he loved very.
The brother of Kelly James, Frank James, said he feels like he has 2 more brothers still on the mountain.
We wish the rescue workers Godspeed in their ongoing efforts to bring Brian and Jerry down that mountain safely.
Searchers said they've gained new information about the possible path of the 2 remaining climbers. They're trying to determine if they may have fallen into a gully they can't get to because of extreme avalanche danger.
It's too dangerous for us to put ground crews in there.
They still called it a rescue effort but could not hold back their disappointment.
We failed them. We literally failed them, but, we tried our best. I know that.
Searchers hope to make a lot of progress today before snow and strong winds return tomorrow. For their families, the agonizing wait continues. Rescuers are also trying to determine if and when it will be safe to bring the body of Kelly James back down the mountain. From Hood River, Oregon, I'm Leanne Gregg, NBC 10 News.
And joining us now to talk about climbing mountains, Dr. Timothy Warren from Saunderstown. He is preparing to climb Mount Everest. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Warren.
Thanks for having me, Patrice.
What are your thoughts as you watch these news accounts about these climbers?
I think what comes most to mind is that even though you might love the mountains don't necessarily love you. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing. And certainly, one of these people passed away doing what they love, but still it's not worth dying and leaving a trail of relatives that were weeping for you.
That is an extremely treacherous mountain. Can you talk a little bit about Mount Hood?
Mount Hood is the tallest mountain in Oregon, and it's about 11,000 feet tall. And I don't believe that the altitude is necessarily the biggest obstacle for these folks and the searchers. I think it's the exposure of wind and cold and snow. The snow is loading up the slopes, making high avalanche danger. The wind and the cold. The cold's not necessarily that bad, but when you put the wind and the cold together, it just makes for brutal situations.
How long do you think these crews are going to be able to stay up there looking for them?
Well, from what I understand, and again, we're Monday morning quarterbacking here, but it seems like they're connected to these people, and they're intertwined with the families, and I think they're going to get it done.
And that is an extremely treacherous side of Mount Hood that they are looking.
It's a very technical side to the mountain. I've got to be honest, I've not climbed that mountain. I've climbed other mountains like that, but I understand that the north side is a very, very treacherous mountain, very technical, a lot of ropes, a lot of vertical ice climbing, and where one mistake can be it.
Now you're planning to climb Mount Everest. How are you preparing?
Well, there are different types of climbs. These guys were particularly climbing in a style called alpine style, which is kind of short and fast, bringing a minimum of gear and a minimum of food, and you're attempting to make a quick dash, get in, get out, and that evidently backfired. With me on Mount Everest, that's a type of a climb which is more like an expedition. So it's a long, slow, ponderous moving of equipment gradually up the mountain and acclimatizing to the higher altitude. For me, it'll be more of a battle to get used to the altitude, which is almost 3 times taller than twice taller than Mount Hood.
One of these climbers was able to use a cell phone, although the searchers got to him too late. How will you be using technology like cell phones or GPS?
Primarily satellite phone. There's no cell towers over in Nepal, so it's primarily going to be satellites hooking up with that. And there's also some pretty good developments in technology. We have little handheld email devices and things like that that you can't use way up high, but we can use in the lower reaches in base camp.
Any reservations now about going up?
Well, you know, I feel for I have a son, a beautiful son who's 15 years old, and I feel for him. Of course, he knows the risks. He's excited by my climbs. I go away once a year on a big climb. But, you know, of course, I understand what goes through his mind, too. He has no illusions.
All right.
So,
well, be careful, and
so
good
much.
luck on your climb.
Appreciate it.
Timothy Warren. And joining us now to talk about the current conditions on Mount Hood is NBC 10 Weather Plus meteorologist John Gue.